Welcome to A Student of Leadership, a micro-podcast where leaders are made one habit at a time. Hosted by Rob Adams, a leadership veteran with 30 years of experience, this podcast explores key concepts that define exceptional leadership. Each episode delves into a powerful word or strategy, offering practical insights and real-world stories. Whether you're just starting out or an experienced executive, join Rob as he guides you in learning, growing, and leading with purpose.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Student of Leadership podcast. I'm Robert Adams, and this is episode 63, Developing People in a Time-Starved Environment. This week, we are talking about the Leadership Act most leaders agree is most important and consistently is underinvested in. Developing the people around them, not through programs, not through formal processes, through the intentional, relational investment that changes the trajectory of someone's career. On Monday, the Leadership Table newsletter on Substack opened May with The Spoon, the fifth piece of the place-setting framework, what a leader pours into others without keeping score. The newsletter covers the 3 development conversations every leader needs to have monthly and what the hardest versions of The Spoon actually looks like. If you haven't read it yet, the link is in the show notes. Friday's Breaking Bread on LinkedIn has the play from this week worth running before the weekend, and that drops at 6:45 a.m. Link also in the show notes. And if you missed last week's episode 62, we closed out April with The Fork and the 5 daily leadership acts that compound into something your team will remember long after quarterly results are forgotten. That episode is on your feed, and it is worth going back for. I want to start today with a question I've asked in coaching conversations for years. Think about the leader who most influenced your career. Not the most impressive title you ever worked for, the one who actually changed how you think, how you lead, or what you believe is possible for yourself. Now think about what they did. Almost without exception, when I ask this, people don't describe a speech, a strategic decision, or a moment of crisis management. They describe a conversation, a question that nobody else had thought to ask, a moment of investment that communicated something that has stayed with them for years. That, everyone, is the spoon. The act of pouring into someone without calculating the return. And it is both the most impactful thing a leader can do and the most constantly neglected. Tim Etherington-Judge built Healthy Hospo because he looked at the hospitality industry and saw a profound gap. The people who pour themselves into guests every single day, the servers, the bartenders, the kitchen teams, the front desk staff, were receiving almost none of the same investment in their own well-being that extended to the people that they served. Long hours, physical demands, emotional labor that goes largely unacknowledged. An industry culture that has historically celebrated the ability to endure rather than the right to thrive. Tim did not write a report about it. He did not wait for the industry to change. He started pouring. You see, Healthy Hospo became a movement because someone decided that the people in his industry deserved genuine investment, not as a strategy, not as a retention program, but because it was simply the right thing to do. That is the difference between a leader who develops people transactionally and one who generally is developing people generously. The transaction asks, what is the return on this investment? The generous act asks, what does this person need to become what they are capable of becoming? Monica Rothgery started at KFC at 15 years old mopping floors. She rose to become COO of KFC US. That line runs through every leader who invested in her along the way and through her own relentless investment in the people around her as she climbed. Development as a culture, built one conversation at a time. Now, before I go into the framework, if this content is resonating, the Leadership Table newsletter goes deeper every Monday morning. One element of the place-setting framework, one principle, one practice you can use the same week. It is on Substack, free to subscribe, and this week's piece on the spoon is one worth reading. Link is in the show notes. Let's talk about 3 conversations every leader needs monthly. You see, development doesn't require a program. It requires 3 specific conversations done with intention and done consistently. The first is the direction conversation. Not a performance review, a genuine check-in on where this person is headed and whether the work they're doing right now is moving them forward towards it. Most leaders have this conversation at hire and then again at the annual review, if they ever remember. The leaders who build the most loyal, high-performing teams have it monthly. It takes 10 minutes. The signal it sends is that you're paying attention to more than what they are producing. You're paying attention to who they are becoming. Now, the second is the obstacle conversation. What is in the way right now? Not what you think is in the way from your vantage point. What this person actually experiences as the friction in their work and their growth. Most obstacles are removable. Most of them never get removed because nobody in a leadership role ever bothered to even ask. A warehouse supervisor who cannot clear a scheduling conflict that is burning out a driver, a regional manager who can't get clarity on the direction of a new initiative. These are not small things. They are the things that quietly determine whether someone stays or starts looking elsewhere. Now, the third is the recognition conversation. Not the generic good job on your way past the desk. The specific acknowledgement of something you actually observed, why it mattered to the team or the organization, and what it says about who this person is becoming as a leader. That specificity is what transforms recognition from praise into development. It tells someone not just that they did something well, why it matters and what it reveals about their potential. You see, these 3 conversations, monthly, 10 minutes each, the compound return on that investment over a year is something that no compensation package can ever replicate. In fact, the hardest version I want to talk about, the hardest version of the spoon, because I think it matters. The hardest version is developing someone who will eventually surpass you. That's right, leap over you. I have watched leaders who were exceptional at developing people right up until the person they were developing started to get close to their level. Then things changed. The conversations became less frequent. The obstacles that used to get cleared quietly stopped getting addressed. The recognition dried up. Now, that's not a failure of skill. That's a failure of leadership security. In fact, I've also watched leaders who did the opposite, who looked at someone they had invested in going further than they went and felt nothing but genuine pride, who celebrated it, who told that story to anyone who would listen. Those are the leaders whose legacy is visible in the rooms they are no longer in. In organizations they built, they kept running well after they left. In people who went on to develop others the same way they were developed. That is the spoon defined, fully expressed, giving without keeping score, even when the score runs beyond anything you ever expected. Now, AI is changing the development landscape in real ways. Learning management systems, skills assessments, onboarding platforms, coaching tools. These can deliver content at scale in ways that matter. Now, I'm not dismissing them, but here is the line. What AI cannot do is sit across from a person at the end of a hard week and ask what is actually getting in the way. It cannot hear the thing beneath the answer and ask the follow-up question that reaches what is really going on. It cannot look someone in the eye with the credibility of a leader who has watched them grow and tell them with genuine belief that they are becoming something worth becoming. Development at its core is relational. The tools around it can improve. The act itself belongs to the leader. Now, who on your team are you actually pouring into right now? Not who you intend to invest in. Who is actually receiving it? And the Leadership Table newsletter is on Substack every morning at 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week's piece on the spoon, the 3 conversations, and what the compound return on development actually looks like is there waiting right for you. Link in the show notes. And Friday's Breaking Bread on LinkedIn has the play from this week worth running before the weekend. That link is also in the show notes. Now, next week, we move to the glass. Clarity and transparency, and one of the most personal, important frameworks in my development as a leader, feed forward. The idea that changed how I give feedback and how I receive it. I'm looking forward to that one. I'd love for you to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of the other major podcast networks so you don't miss out. Both links are in the show notes. And if this episode gave you something, please share it with one leader in your network who is sitting on a development conversation they've been putting off. Or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps more leaders find this show. Run this play the week you pick one person. That's right, just pick one person. You can run it this week. Ask the direction question. Listen 10 seconds longer than feels comfortable. That is the spoon. That is the work. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to A Student of Leadership. I'm Robert Adams, and I'm still learning too. Until next time, take care.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Student of Leadership. Leadership is about who we become and how we help others grow. If you found value in this podcast, share it with a fellow leader and connect with Rob on LinkedIn or leave a review. New episodes drop weekly, so don't forget to subscribe to stay connected. Until next time, keep learning, growing, and leading with intention. Remember, great leaders are made one habit at a time. See you next time on A Student of Leadership.